You're listening to Cattywampus.
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Brian.
I'm Corey.
I'm Steve.
We're going to talk about Haunt. Image Comics Haunt.
That everyone definitely has heard of.
It's definitely a real thing. We now know for sure. We've seen physical
Yeah,
copies
there's
of the
now
issues.
physical evidence. I now believe you. It is not just fan fiction you wrote about Spawn and
It
Spider-Man.
may or may not be a Spawn and Venom fanfiction. Maybe.
This spawned. I'll leave. This spawned out of a conversation that some of us had where Brian brought up Haunt, which we had not heard of and did not believe was a real thing.
All right.
The year is,
I think, 2011?
2009.
2009. I think it ended in 2012.
You're correct.
Correct. Yep.
So, apparently, I can't remember the exact story, but the reason it came to be was actually a conversation at a panel in Comic-Con.
Between
I believe
luminaries.
I believe McFarlane and Kirkman.
Todd McFarlane, one of the co-founders of Image Comics, creator of Spawn, and
Robert
Kirkman of The Walking Dead and Invincible fame.
And they decided to work together. Originally, when I read it, I thought this was a good idea. Haunt was, I guess, set up to be a supernatural superhero with a little bit of a dark edge. Which, in this day and age, dark and gritty is just way overdone.
Even in 2009, one might say this was a little past its prime.
A little bit, yeah. I
Edgy
think
is the right word, all right.
I think
it had edges.
I think this comic, especially after rereading it, might have worked better in the late 90s.
It reminded me a lot of ironically not
a lot of
a lot of Wildstorm comics. It reminded me a lot of like Danger Girl, Witchblade, which is Top Cow,
Tomb Raider
Top
too.
Cow, the Top Cow comics.
Yeah.
Also at Image. But the basic premise is two brothers. One is a priest. One is Spawn. One is a mercenary.
Yeah, one is a priest.
One is a mercenary who's killed and
mercenary.
becomes a demon. So not Spawn apparently. Because now he's a ghost that fuses into his brother and becomes Haunt.
Something that I hate about the
that
series.
looks like a demon Spider-Man. Haunt
we
looks
never,
like a ghost.
We never actually understand any of it.
Right.
It just ends out of nowhere.
But it's like Firestorm meets Ghost Rider, but he looks like evil Spider-Man.
Right, with a Dreamcast logo on his chest.
Yeah, that is the Haunt logo.
Yeah, I'm a little...
I'm looking at it right now. Oh, yeah.
But when I first picked it up, I had recently gotten into comics around that time. I had read The Walking Dead. I had read Invincible. Pretty much anything I saw with Kirkman's name on it, I was like, done, I'm in. So I picked up Haunt, and I recognized the art from Todd McFarlane's toys. I have never really read Spawn. I don't know a lot about Todd McFarlane. I saw Spawn when I was a kid.
Oh, like the movie?
The live action movie. I saw the HBO animated series, whatever. I never really got into Spawn, but I thought the toys always had cool designs. I thought the character of Haunt at the time looked cool. Looking at it now, I'm like, maybe not. But
is anyone else weirded out that you see his mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
weird. That was weird, right?
But I liked it because at the time it seemed like it was something new, but looking back at it, it's really not.
It's got a lot of Spawn undertones. The whole like government agency that this mercenary brother worked for, now that he's dead and can fuse with his brother who's a priest, he becomes this sort of demonic avenger. The bulk of it seems to be another mercenary criminal whose name escapes me, but he's like a big Kingpin-esque kind of guy.
They called him Herg, I believe.
That's okay, Herg. And so, like, he's just trying to kill Haunt and kill the agency, maybe?
So
or I don't... It doesn't...
The only reason that they are even remotely connected is that book. Because the brother that's the mercenary says that he has no idea who Herg is. He's never even seen him, never heard of him.
Right.
They both wanted that book that has the research.
The MacGuffin, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So if that book wasn't into play, which the research that he's working on may or may not have eventually led into creating what is Haunt.
Maybe. I mean, it felt...
But you never really get answers because, again,
because the interested parties bail. Even before their names are not on the book, you can tell they bail.
Fucking drop it. They don't even try.
By issue 17, I noticed a lot of names in the credits, and then issue 18, which is the final issue of Kirkman, there are 5 credited pencilers.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, Todd McFarlane goes from credited as co-creator / inker to just inker, and then he's one of 2 inkers. And event because the bulk of the art is by Greg Capullo, longtime Spawn artist, and now has a lot of fame from his heralded Batman run with Scott Snyder.
Right.
But his sort of normal inker, Jonathan, is it Glapion or Glapion? I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Capullo's normal inker clearly takes over at a certain point. But like you can tell that Kirkman and McFarlane are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think the turning point was it issue 2 where they meet this woman who's gonna tell them what they are, and she is this young scantily clad woman just in sexual stripper like poses at all times.
It's like a mix between a witch doctor and a stripper.
And a stripper.
And
Strip doctor.
It's strip doctor.
Correct.
A strip doctor, if you will. Every woman in this book is incredibly sexualized.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's extra women just to be sexualized sometimes.
Right.
There's like 3 lead female characters, and then a bunch of women just in the background everywhere.
Yeah. And I didn't realize I've read the entire series at this point 3 times. I read it month to month as it came out. I reread it once the run was done because the ending, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, did I miss? And then, I just reread it for this podcast.
Yeah.
But this rereading of it, I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, every time there's a woman on the page, she has to be doing something sexualized. Like,
what I found fascinating is anytime Hunt went to rescue someone and they were female, there was a panty shot where their ass was hanging out of their jeans.
It's like if Spider-Man went to go save a woman and then her pants just fell off while they're swinging across the fucking city.
This book is written for 13-year-olds who don't have internet access.
Right.
It was released in what year?
2009.
So that doesn't make sense.
It's a real...
Well, no, it's a relic in the sense of during the 90s.
During the 80s and 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, Todd McFarlane was one of many artists who brought in this sort of style that became synonymous with the image creators. That is very much like if you go back and read those Spider-Man issues. So people always say like, oh, we had to end the marriage like Mary Jane. It didn't work. You want to know why it didn't work? Is because you would cut to her and it was just her in lingerie being like, but Peter, don't. That was the extent of her character for about 15 years.
Well, right. The problem that comics had during the 80s and 90s, Corey, that the problem was that
they were too extreme.
Well, yeah, basically it was comic books are for kids.
Extreme.
Comic books are for kids. But what if they weren't?
They could. The problem with them is that we couldn't handle how radical they were.
Right. So the issue was that everything had to go to an extreme. So if there was violence, it had to be ultra violent. If there was sexual content, it had to be full on tits. And that was just a constant issue for a lot of comics during that time period.
You had a lot
specifically Top Cow, I'd say.
Well, that's later, but I think that's in the late 90s. But what happened was you had a couple of books that really pushed the boundaries in a creative way.
Of what you would call good taste.
Well, before that though, you had things like creators famously like Frank Miller and Alan Moore, and you ended up with things like Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns. And part of the success of those books led to a real change in the industry, which also, as the speculation boom started to rise, which was this idea that these will be worth something because books from the 30s and 40s were due to the scarcity of them. There was a kind of explosion in the industry of new dynamic artists who were able to do something that was more technically complex than what had come before. These creators were then given kind of free reign, and because the style of the day was also a more darker, complex story, it's not unlike what you're seeing with the problem of movies today. We had alluded to like the grim and gritty thing, which is so like in film, Batman Begins and Casino Royale, where gritty reboots of Batman and James Bond, those are successful. And then every other time, instead of making a good movie that happens to take it seriously, which is what Batman Begins and Casino Royale did, is they just go, it's just grim and dark and gritty. This is good, right? And it's not. Well, that's almost exactly what happened to comics in the 90s. And Todd McFarlane, and I don't even dislike his art, is definitely one of the responsible parties.
Yeah, he's very
pretty much
guilty.
all of the Image founders are kind of the responsible parties for this. Taking what Alan Moore and Frank Miller did and goes, yeah, but what if they fucked more? What if they bled more and fucked more and screamed more and brooded more and everything more? Just more.
I definitely had that vibe reading the issues that I read.
Except this is 20 years after what I just said.
Todd
comes out 2 decades later.
Yes, that's why.
And
that's so weird.
So by this time, we're getting back to comics can be fun and bright and colorful, and they can have dark moments, but they can also
which
you
Kirkman
can also
literally does with Invincible.
Right.
Like, it is gory. It is a little like ultra violent. It does,
Especially
get
at this
dark.
point, though, it's still a fun superhero comic.
Right. And at this point, and that's why I was like, anything Kirkman touches, I'm gonna read. I bet it's gonna be great.
2009 is an interesting year because if you want to look at what else was happening, so like DC, you had like Jeff Johns' like Green Lantern run, which is a serious book, but
It was
a fun book.
a fantastic.
And
set
at
of
Marvel,
comics.
you have Bendis' Avengers run. Again, serious. Not like
That was
a simplified book, but like, again, it's fun. It's not like
2009 was.
Secret Invasion was the big event that year.
When did Dark Reign happen?
That was after. So Dark Reign was a publishing initiative
2010?
after Secret Invasion.
Right.
Okay.
Because the end of Secret Invasion leads to Dark Reign.
Because this is all around the time that I really got into comics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I read the Avengers run. I read everything through like Dark Reign and
Yeah.
a couple months after
So
that.
so it was a fun time. Like DC and Marvel were publishing more or less fun books. They had kind of moved beyond this.
Well, 'cause
For
we're
about
all-
10 years, they'd both moved on as companies. And this is like... This is Todd McFarlane and Robert
Giant
Kirkman going,
setback.
no, we're going back.
Fuck that hooker.
Put a pouch on him and remove her clothing.
And I don't know if it was my age at the time when I read it that I didn't really like think about
12?
any of
Were you
that.
12?
No.
I knew you during this period
But-
of time. I don't understand.
You guys read it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
give me something you do like, if you can. Give me something you do like about it.
Like anything with comics, for me, especially going back, it's always nice to see a creator I like before I knew their work and see kind of the evolution. And what I will say is, as Todd McFarlane's inks kind of pull back and John Clapion's inks come in, I liked seeing Capullo's pencils turn into the finished artwork that I recognize him, because I think he's a very talented artist. I wasn't reading Spawn when Capullo drew the book. I didn't know who he was when Batman started. I remember like seeing the solicit and they're like, and it's Greg Capullo from Spawn. I was like, a Spawn artist, and then I read it and I was like, oh, this is
that run.
amazing.
He was
This
like,
is
this is
so great.
beautiful.
It's like it like took Mazzucchelli and Miller and almost parts of Jim Lee, and you can even see a little McFarlane in there. Like you could see like Capullo's influences, but it became this cohesive, new, vibrant pop art sensibility to Batman and to the Justice League and like all the characters he drew, and I really loved it. So I always like seeing an artist before I
they
knew
hit
them,
the big time, like,
you
before they
know.
hit their
And so like
prime.
seeing like earlier Capullo,
Yeah.
even though it's only like
He did
2
really-
years before.
Yeah.
In fact, he may have left this to basically start, based on the timeline, he probably left this to start drawing that Batman. run.
Yeah, actually.
He probably did, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting because by the time the book ends, he's pretty much almost there. Like he's the Batman artist that I know. So I enjoyed that as
It was-
it certainly wasn't Robert Kirkman's storytelling I enjoyed, despite loving Walking Dead and Invincible.
Yeah.
as
There
books.
were a few things here and there, but yeah, rereading it, I was like, where is Kirkman? Like, did he actually write this, or is his name just tied to it?
Well, he fused with Todd McFarlane.
But I've read most of his work, and it does not feel like any of it.
No,
Not even in the slightest.
nor does it really feel like McFarlane.
I don't know much about him, but just from the few things I've read and looked into about him, just from reading Hunt and wanting
It's
to know
pretty
more,
edgy.
it's pretty edgy.
It's on the edge of taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what? Anything you liked about it, Steve?
I mean,
Pass.
Well,
No.
nope.
it was 28 issues, so it only took an afternoon. No. Honestly, I went into it with super low expectations, and I got to tell you, those first 5 issues were rough. I definitely remember myself multiple times while I was reading it just stopping and going,
He printed
Can
out,
I do
He
this?
printed out a bunch of headshots of you, and then every time he finished an issue, he picked one up and he set fire to it with a lighter and watched it burn in a trash
I will say that actually the story didn't wear on me near as much as I thought it would. It's not a good story by any stretch of the imagination, but there is character development. There is something to be said for some of the characters actually do show growth and become a little bit more likable as the story goes forward. I did not like Daniel as a character.
In the first 18, I enjoyed where we were going. I do think
But where was that? Like,
I think
what,
we were
what
gonna-
do you think this was? Because here's the thing: after 18 issues, not much really happened.
yeah.
Basically, one dude's face got scarred, And then it became clear to
He
me.
just wanted a life of
It
stabbing.
became clear to me there were no stakes.
what his wife
Like I
wanted.
think one of the big power things is
She's very impartial to his stabbing.
Yeah, it's like, I will fuck you as long as you keep stabbing people. That was literally her whole arc.
one of the big problems I had with like the Haunt character is I'm like I don't, and I get that they don't know what he can do yet either. Like part of the story is discovering what it is, but I feel like they never really knew what the limitations of Haunt were, and therefore I never really felt like he was ever going to be at risk at like dying or being injured, or I was like, I guess Haunt is just going to be
Well,
fine.
that-
And then a big red devil spawn man showed up, and I went, it reminded me of Doomsday in the sense where I was like, well, Superman, what's going to kill Superman? You're like, I don't know, bigger guy. Like, he'll just get beaten to death. And I'm like, I guess Haunt can get beaten to death.
Believe
with
it or not,
fists.
this was actually something I actually kind of enjoyed out of the story, because at this point, you know, we know that his brother, that Kurt's a ghost. We know that he is basically stuck here on Earth in limbo. We had no explanation as to why. And then we finally get this giant Redeemer, or whatever the hell it
Yeah,
was called.
is it the Redeemer?
And it exists solely to keep a balance on Earth of, like, ghosts aren't supposed to be here. They're supposed to move on. And that was the big threat to Haunt at that point, was not something could physically kill him or something could harm him. It was that something could take Kurt away
But he's
and
already
bring him where.
dead.
Well, right, but that's the thing. His
But it
spirit,
removes him from
it
the
removes him
actual
from the
world.
equation.
Yeah.
It's not that Haunt's gonna die. It's that Daniel loses the only thing he had to be powerful. It basically, it's the same thing as taking away the yellow sun from Superman. He's no longer Superman if he
I
doesn't
suppose.
have.
Well, I get that, but they've done stories with that, and it's like, well, he's still Superman. It's just he doesn't have the power. And I
That
think
is-
that's part of the problem with the character I had, which is like, I'm like, yeah, but who are you guys? What's your goal? And what do you have to like?
I think
what
that's-
could be lost.
that's
and
my
I
biggest-
do think I missed that.
Right,
a
and
bit.
that was a huge issue because they both came in as very whole and broken people, and that's actually something I enjoyed about Daniel's art, is because as time moved on, he instead of being a man that literally had nothing to live for, nothing to lose, he started being put into a position to where not only does he have power, but now he's starting to gain things he can lose. He's gaining friends, he's gaining a relationship.
like all priests in
Yeah.
fiction, his faith is shaken, and
Right.
he's hard drinking and hard living.
Yes.
Like every priest in every story I've ever read or watched.
Right, you're not
He's
wrong.
Jesse Custer,
But who is Daniel without Kurt? I mean, if Kurt is taken away,
not Haunt. That's for sure, Corey.
Now he did still have the training, and he does show a little bit in one or two issues
One
that he
issue
can
where that he can
still
Which-
function without him, but obviously he doesn't have the spacesuit as they refer to it, because
Yeah, he doesn't
none of
have
his
his-
squad knows that what Haunt actually is.
look, if he's nothing without the suit, he doesn't deserve it.
But no,
I see what you did
do.
there.
I do think that's the
Mr. Stark.
my biggest problem with Haunt is that it ended
Story of the characters.
very abruptly,
Pages.
and it did rereading it. It does end exactly where I needed it to continue.
Right. It actually seemed like there was something that it felt like there was actually something that they wanted to do next.
Yeah, and going into the transition to a new creative team,
Yeah.
it's
Was
almost
there a space in publishing at all, or was it like the next month?
There
or-
was,
I think
but
there-
not a lot.
Yeah, I think it
a
was
lot.
like a 3 or 4 month
Okay.
gap.
Okay. There's a
But
gap.
they had been setting it up. They'd been talking about it in the it's not letter hacks, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the
They
back
called them
matter.
they
the
were
letter
post-mortem.
pages.
Yeah.
The letter pages.
Yeah, they called them post-mortem.
Oh, that's right, because one of them's dead.
But so yeah, on the creative team switch, it's almost
Joe
like,
Casey and Nathan Fox,
and it's almost like Kirkman.
who had worked together before, by the way. They are a team.
I know I've read
else have they
something that
done?
they did. I can't
The
remember.
Marvel. It was called. They did the Zodiac thing at Marvel.
Oh,
This would have been shortly before. I think it was like 2000. And obviously both are prolific. Joe Casey, you know, is a very talented writer in his own right. His Wildcats run. Speaking of like Image and Wildstorm, granted at this point Wildstorm I think was at DC, but he did a Wildcats run that was really good, and he did the book Sex, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Sex is this book for anyone who doesn't know, because Corey just looked at me strangely. He's like, Sex.
Sex.
What?
Never had it.
I mean, I am human. No, Sex was a book at Image. I'm blanking on the artist right now, but it is basically a parable of Batman. It's not Batman specifically, but what if a Batman-like figure retired and basically came back to the city to just try and live a normal life, and he's about in his 40s, and like there's a Catwoman-like figure, a Joker-like figure, And the whole point of the book, though, is there is this psychosexual component to like his relationship with Catwoman, to some of these villains. Basically, the whole book was about interpersonal relationships and how people relate to each other romantically, and how there's a lot of psychosexual dynamics baked into particularly Batman and his rogues gallery. And Joe Casey's more exploring that directly on the surface with these analogs to those characters.
And this is called Sex.
It's just called Sex is the name of the book.
Right, it just right on the nose.
It's called Sex, yeah.
It's no holds barred. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's a
what
great
this
book.
is.
Like I highly recommend it. It is.
This is not about
Is
subtlety.
Is this
No.
a graphic novel? Is it a
No,
series?
it's issues. It was issues. It's actually going to switch to original graphic novel format.
Wait,
to
hold
OGN
on.
format.
It's
Just 'cause the
still
trades-
going?
Yeah, it's still going. Yeah,
When-
it's on a
when does
hiatus
this
right now, but it is not over.
How long is the
Pick that up.
hiatus?
That actually sounds really interesting.
Well, they did 30 some odd issues, and they're taking about a year off to because now instead of issues they're going to basically do like a trade a year. So in the comic book industry there's something called an original graphic novel, an OGN. So it's like a trade paperback, but it's not collecting anything. It was just done originally for that book.
Right.
So those are going to come out now like once every 18 months or whatever their schedule will be, instead of the 10 issues a year.
So what I'm hearing is Sex has already gone on longer than Hunt did.
Yes.
At
Yeah.
28
And was more
issues.
critically acclaimed.
I don't think Haunt had
Nobody
any-
likes Haunt.
any- yeah.
Everyone loves sex.
I mean,
Fair
Well, I've
statement.
been David. No, we're not.
So anyway,
No.
on the creative switch,
But that's Joe Casey. That's the guy who took over Haunt.
okay.
it wasn't out of nowhere. They let it up for at least 3 issues before they did it. Todd McFarlane was super busy. Kirkman was super busy. We don't want to stop this book, so we're going to pass it on to a team, and they're going to do even better than we've been doing.
Wrong.
I think they gave them at the end of issue 18. I think they had given them a perfect setup to continue a story, but they brought back the strip doctor, the witch doctor, who sacrifices herself to make the apparition stop chasing after Kurt.
This is a lot like the movie Ghost, by
That
the
was
way.
a Deus
Yeah.
Ex Machina from hell, by the way.
So I'm going to say this right up front.
Yeah,
I actually think Joe Casey and Nathan Fox made the right call to completely do something
basically
different.
redo
Because Joe
everything.
Casey does not write like Robert Kirkman, and Nathan Fox does art looks nothing like Ray Capullo. So to try to continue this tone with those two creators would have been a mistake, because it didn't work in the first place. But even if it had, I actually thought that their effort to do something different, it did feel like Joe Casey and Nathan Fox, since they had just come off a Marvel work, it felt like they had a Ghost Rider story and went, this will graph onto Haunt. It
The
felt
villain-
like Ghost Rider all of a sudden.
the villain in that arc, all I could think of was that fucking character from Venture Bros.
Which
I
did you just call
can't-
it Venture Bros?
Venture Brothers. I've never watched that
Venture
show.
Bros.
Super Venture Bros.
No,
Venture
who's
Bros.
who's
Venture
the-
Brothers.
Who's the villain with like
The Monarch?
Monarch.
the fucking
Dr.
Oh
Gallifrey.
yeah, that
the
Pope
guy
looking
looked
dude.
the
Yeah,
Pope
yeah, I love
looked
it, yeah.
just like the fucking Monarch.
That's
And
what that art looked
it was
like.
driving me.
Nathan Fox, yeah, I
it drove
love-
me insane.
I do think, again, just the way he draws women is preferable.
Well, I mean, and that's fair, yeah, because
Like it didn't offend my sensibilities the way the first 18 issues did, so just by default, I was
Yeah.
like, well,
I
you're
mean,
not
I'll give
actively
you that.
offending me, so this helps.
I will say his dream sequences
looked
looked
great.
amazing.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
were
those
really good.
were good.
Yeah.
That art was fucking incredible. But everything else I hated it. It looked like he literally threw up on a page with color. But
It's a loose, rough art style. I don't remember off the top of my head who colored Nathan Fox, or if he colored himself, but
I can't remember.
I did think the colors didn't necessarily match the inked and pencil.
You did mention earlier though,
Artwork.
you didn't know the limitations of Haunt, and that's something that I saw or that happens in issue 27, 28,
Yeah.
where he like fucking loses it.
Yeah, it becomes like some weird ghost spirit.
Yeah.
He like fucking transforms and like mutates into this weird creature, and like I really wish we could have seen more of that.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't love the coloring. I thought it was a little. I don't know. It definitely took the pages and made them more cluttered than I think they actually were if you just looked at the pencils and inks. Like, I think if you just looked at the uncolored stuff, you would have been like, I understand what's. Like, I found the storytelling.
Some of the
sometimes-
pages I literally,
There are pages where you're like, I don't
know
know
what the
I don't even know where
fuck
to
you're
start.
even trying to tell me.
I've read comics for 20 years, and I was like, I don't know where to start reading on this
like,
page.
Right.
what is this mess?
Yeah, that was a problem. I mean, honestly, yeah, the art.
Which never happens with Capullo.
Yeah, correct.
There's just a clarity that Capullo brings.
I mean, the biggest thing to address here, the art was a problem.
It's a flawed concept.
Yeah, the art was a problem, but it wasn't near as big a problem as everything else. I mean, because
like Joe Casey's storytelling.
Yes, just to set up this story for people listening. So if you haven't read,
Haunt,
yeah, if you're not up on current Haunt,
man, Golden Age Haunt. Oh, I'd read Golden Age Haunt, by the way.
Oh yes, that sounds fantastic.
Oh, that sounds amazing. He probably would hold up some kind of old, like, timey, like, lamp, and he'd, like, turn it, and then the flame would turn white, and then he'd be like, with the power of Haunt. And then he'd have, like, a hood, but he'd still have a Beretta, because everyone had a Beretta back then.
I would read this.
He would basically be Dead
Todd
Man, but with a
McFarlane,
brother.
reach out to me. I will totally write Golden Age Haunt. And I'll read Silver Age Haunt. That one will be where an accident where chemicals hit them and they pour them together into Haunt. And he's like a Casper. He's like a friendly ghost, and he's always like, get away from that shrink ray.
Oh, this sounds amazing.
Oh my god.
This sounds so good now.
I would totally read Golden Age Haunt.
Yeah,
I have the power of ectoplasm and my 2 guns. Like all Golden Age heroes. It's my favorite thing about, like, The Shadow, where it's like, I have the ability to cloud men's minds. I have the ability to turn into mist. But I have my 2 guns.
Now I'm just imagining like Super Friends, but with Haunt. So they have those like single frame animation style. And he's just like ectoplasm, and it's just like this. It looks just like a glue gun coming out of his.
Meanwhile, at the strip doctors, what is it, Haunt?
Father, I've said, I'm sorry, I must go. There's trouble at the agency.
The director of the agency, what was her name? Beth will have an eye patch in the 60s, and she'll always have a cigarette, but on like a cigarette holder. And she'll be like, damn it, Haunt!
You're a loose cannon, but I can't afford to lose you.
It.
You're the best damn agent we have.
What am I going to tell Kennedy? Haunt, the Cuban Missile Crisis! Quickly!
Haunt, we think those Reds are up to something.
Oh my god! We'll invent new Haunt villains. Haunt fights a communist ghost.
He only had like 2 villains. Maybe.
Fight the socialist ghost.
What did you think of Still Harvey Tubman?
All right, so anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Let me explain why this was so jarring. We got off on Haunt versus the Soviet Spectre.
Oh my god, I'm writing all this down. I'm cutting this out. I'm saving this for my Haunt reboot.
So, in the last issue, we've gotten character development on Daniel and Kurt, and they weren't close brothers at the beginning, but by the end of this, they're just like, I love you, we're family, we're working together, we're good people.
Yeah, we're Haunt.
Yeah, and right. We're Agent Haunt.
Yeah.
Haunt, agent of the agency.
Right. And, they're setting up these big stories and these big events involving the agency and things like that. Then issue 18 occurs.
19.
And it was 19, excuse me. So issue 19 occurs, and Daniel wakes up from a bad dream to find out the agency's gone. His roommate who worked with the agency is gone. Everything is just fucking gone. His brother shows up and is just like, hey, fuck you because fuck you.
I literally could not find a reason for it, and I hated it so much. I was like,
that made no sense.
I went back and I reread, and
It
I was
felt like a
what?
reboot, like it's a new creative team, which happens all the time in other books.
Yeah.
Well, the problem was it felt like a reboot, but they kept Daniel kept addressing that
Danny boy.
Yeah.
Well, it should have been a new Haunt #1.
Yeah, I mean that would have made more sense.
It would have made like they changed a lot, but they kept most characters. But like at the end of 18, you've got the main villain, I guess. What was his fucking name? Herg.
Herg.
We've got Herg at the very
Mr.
end.
Herg.
Mr.
The
Herg.
crime boss.
The crime boss.
Mr. Herg came back, I believe.
He's the one who killed Kurt. He orchestrated Kurt's death.
Well, not only that, they brought back Kurt's like adulterous love interest. Came back like 2 issues
Amanda?
before that. No,
No,
Mirage.
Summer or Autumn.
Autumn, okay.
No,
Mirage.
Mirage. I'm talking about the
yeah.
one that Kurt had, like, he was cheating on Amanda with, and he was going to run away with. And they were gonna
She was
start
one of
lying.
those black-haired women who looked like everybody. I love Capullo, but man,
Right,
all
was
those
one of-
women have the
She
same
looked like
face.
Domino without the makeup. And
she
long
was,
hair.
She was generic dark-haired woman number 6.
Yeah.
They went out of their way to basically try to tear up everything that had happened prior to issue 18, to the point that the end of the issue is, fine, I'm going to fuse with you to become Haunt to stop these bad guys, but fuck you, I'm gonna do it the way I want to, and literally kills everyone in the room while also killing Daniel's girlfriend.
Yeah. And like when I read that, I was like, what in the fuck? Like, who is this monster? Like, this is not the brothers I've been fucking reading.
Maybe Kurt's just like a
He's just
devout.
angry.
He just became a devout Catholic. He's like, Daniel, you are a priest.
But that
You cannot have a
but at
girlfriend.
You're living in sin.
You're living in
but-
sin.
I don't think that was their logic.
But,
No,
but
that
at the end
wasn't-
of the
Well,
series,
in Golden Age, Han, it was.
But at the
right
end of-
before he fought Hitler.
at the very
course,
end
of
of the
course.
series, at the very end of the series, they make it sound like all of this was intentional. Like, there's a reason everyone's acting different.
Yeah,
There's a
we were
reason.
testing
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah.
We were seeing if you were up for the.
And when it got to that, I was like, okay, that's cool, but then you fucking ended it.
To be
Well,
continued
I
in the
don't-
pages of Spawn.
I don't know that they ended
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
I don't know that that was Joe Casey.
there
and
were
David Fox's
plans.
plan.
There were plans for a 20.
It was ended.
29 and a 30.
So you've read?
They
Did
even
you read the Spawn issues though?
yes.
What happened?
I could not fucking tell you.
Did Hunt and Spawn show up and meet
They
each other and
are-
stare at
no,
each other awkwardly?
No, they are completely mid-Spawn story. They have no right even being there.
How dare you besmirch the pages
I mean,
of Spawn?
No, I
Do their
picked it
mothers
up
share the same
the first
name?
time I saw
Yeah,
it.
they found out. Spawn and Haunt found out they had the same.
The first time I
mother's
saw
name.
it,
Arthur, why did you say that name?
the first time I found out was because it
So
was
I
like
to
Spawn
think of it as
2.
the two Millhouses who meet in the Lemon Tree episode of The Simpsons, where Spawn is like, "I'm a resurrected demon. I was a mercenary," and Hunt's like, "So is I." And then they just hold each other. They're like, "Finally, someone will know what it's like to be me," and they just hug.
But no, there was an issue of Spawn where the cover is half Haunt, half Spawn. He is, I believe, on one page of it, and I think it's only his face.
The cover.
Yeah, basically. And I don't even know if they say anything other than Haunt. Like, they refer to him as Haunt. He says, like, one line, and then he's fucking out.
Like, to be continued. The
I
Pages
am
of
Hunt.
Savage
And
Dragon.
then, because I don't read Spawn, I have no fucking clue what the context is. So someone in a dark alley comes up to Haunt and says, "Help, how do I fix him?" And Haunt says, "You don't want this life," or something like that. And that
My
is
Haunt
literally,
life?
yeah,
Wait.
that's literally it. Like, I don't.
That's
there's,
the line,
There's no
folks.
fucking reason for him to even be there.
So it really wasn't continued in the Pages
No.
of Spawn. He just showed up, and then they
He shows
just
up.
never.
They draw him in on a few issues, I guess, just to have people like me who liked Haunt.
Yeah,
come,
they got you good.
come by that one issue and be like, "Well, that was cool."
Oh, they got you hard.
Yep, he's there. I just don't see why it's so good.
I don't think we've asserted that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had that assessment of it.
I think will,
I enjoy it.
to defend
Okay.
Brian, I totally get a new thing starts and you become really attached to it and it gets canceled. It happens all the time in comics. Comics, like,
It happens.
it gets so unfinished
It
in a way.
happens too often.
And unfinished in a way that, like, at least if it's a book series, one of the books ended. They don't, like, publish half the book. They don't go, well, here's an hour of the movie we were gonna make, you know.
And then just cut the credits.
It happens
halfway
more
through.
with older television, but even now, like, you usually get the full season, and
They usually
then
try
you
to
don't
wrap it
come back.
Yeah.
Right.
So you get some, like, finality, even if it's
Some
a cliffhanger.
closure. I think Heroes 4 or Heroes.
But even
Season
then, like,
4
even
did
if
that.
Heroes had been canceled at the end of season 3,
Yeah.
it's better than, it's not like it's canceled in episode 13 of, like, season 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah,
This happens in
gone.
comics where you're just like, well, we're done. And I'm like, okay.
yeah.
And when you've invested, you know, because 12 issues is a year.
It's not even a proper cliffhanger. Like, I just don't know what's
No, it felt
going
like
on.
they felt like that because you said 29 and 30 were commissioned, right? And solicited.
I
They
feel
have
like
covers.
there's a
They're
lot.
solicited.
20 issue 29, issue 30 have covers.
Well,
they
that's-
had release dates. They were coming out, and then they said, "Oh fuck!" They had to delay 28
Mm-hmm.
to, I guess, to put that little stamp on that said "In Spawn." Like, stick it on real quick and send it to comic shops.
This happens a lot too, which is like Chelsea Kane, who wrote the really good Mockingbird series from Marvel. She was commissioned to write a Vision series. It was a 6-issue mini. 4 issues are done, and they have canceled it. You're not even going to see them, but they exist somewhere. So to drive you insane, 29 might exist. 30 is probably maybe half penciled.
I promise you that 29 at the very least exists.
The scripts almost definitely exist.
It looked like it was ready to come out.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was like cover art. They had I think.
Just wasn't worth printing.
Yeah, I don't know, but apparently when Haunt first came out, the first issue outsold Spider-Man that month. Apparently
it got I looked this up. It got about 60,000, which Spider-Man was selling at the time.
But I do think a lot of people hate that creative change. It especially going back
to your face.
and rereading it, I didn't even want to finish it. I was like, "What? This is stupid. This is not the Haunt.
This isn't my Haunt.
This isn't my Haunt. This isn't what I signed up for. These aren't the brothers I like.
This isn't my father's Haunt."
I do think that had Kirkman and Todd McFarlane maybe stuck with it, that maybe it would have lasted a little longer. Maybe. I'm not saying it would have gone on to be the next fucking Walking Dead. I mean, the
Walking Dead TV show sucks, so
Yeah.
it's just popular for some inexplicable reason.
I haven't read anything new from Kirkman since
Oblivion Song?
I have
His
not read
most
it.
recent book?
Yeah, that's his most recent. I looked at it last night. I thought about starting it. Have you read it at all?
I read the first...
You roll your eyes, and I'm like, never mind.
No, it's not bad. I read the first issue and went, I don't care.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the quality. I just like, nah, I'm not. It didn't grab me.
I think the last new thing, other than Walking Dead, Invincible, Haunt, and Outcast, was Thief of Thieves, but that was years ago.
It was... I mean, Invincible's over now, but it was Walking Dead and Invincible for a long time. And now it's just Walking Dead. I would be curious to know what he thinks about Haunt right now.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to have to wait till, Todd
I wish
McFarlane
Todd
dies.
McFarlane would answer my tweet about where Haunted went.
Oh, yeah, this motherfucker went after Todd McFarlane on social media and was like, where's my Haunt?
I'm gonna find him at Comic-Con.
Once
in
again,
in
you're-
my Haunt cosplay.
Give
me the Haunt.
Much like Simpsons, you're like, where's my Haunt?
I want my Haunt.
I need it.
Now they're playing the Haunt song again. Love that song. Reminds me of Haunt.
I like all the creators involved, like both creative teams. I mean, even Todd McFarlane, I just recently reread the Spider-Man stuff he did, and I thought it was really interesting. And I don't hate, I read a little bit of Spawn when I was younger. I have no axe to grind against any of these people, but man, this was a disaster. The reason this ended the way it did, I'm shocked it got a second creative team at all. I'm shocked it didn't just go away.
Yeah, no, I really
I think it
just feel
happened
like
around the
was-
same
should've
time
ended.
as the whole Image United thing that kind of fell apart.
Oh, Brian, tell everybody about Image United.
I honestly don't remember anything about it other than it was a
But the premise.
miserable failure.
The premise of Image United was
It's like the entire Image universe
the
coming
founders of Image, minus Jim Lee, each one of them had their own separate studio. So Top Cow was Mark Silvestri's, Wildstorm was Jim Lee's, Todd McFarlane's was subtly called Todd McFarlane Productions, Rob Liefeld's was Extreme Studios,
Something like that.
yeah, something like that. And so Image United was like a crossover event with all the successful Image books, and the idea was that instead of getting Todd McFarlane to draw an issue or a page, was that Todd McFarlane was going to draw his character on the page, and Eric Larson was going to draw his character on the same page.
I remember that now.
Now, for anyone who knows anything about comic book production,
That doesn't
this
fucking
is
work.
this is making so much more work than if Todd McFarlane just drew one page, because the page, if you're drawing physically, has to then be shipped to the next artist unfinished. So in the time it could take, maybe Todd McFarlane takes 2 days, let's say 2 days to draw a page. You're now FedExing this page to 5 creators to get one panel done. It was a nightmare. Did it ever actually finish?
That's what I was about to ask you.
You're asking me?
I don't know that it did.
I don't know. You're the Image fanboy
I
here.
swear it didn't.
I remember I got issue
You are the
1.
Image guy, by default.
Yeah, I guess. But I think I only read 2 issues of it. And
Yeah, I
fucking
don't
gave
think
up
it
because
made
every
it further than
when
5.
I used to go to comic shops every single week. I looked for it. I was like, hey, so any word on that? And they were always like, yeah, it's not happening. Don't bother. It's not worth it. It doesn't even exist.
Wikipedia has a page.
That was 2009, right?
Yeah, it was a 2009 planned 6-issue comic. That implies not all 6 issues
And
came out.
I don't know what.
It looks like only 3 came out. According the last it says is that Eric Larson in March of 2011 commented that issue 4 was about 60% done, and that he was laying out issue 5. But it included such luminary characters as Youngblood, Shadowhawk, Spawn, Savage Dragon, Invincible, Witchblade, Cyberforce, and Fortress. It was written by Robert Kirkman, and the artists that were involved were pretty much everybody but Jim Lee. Because Jim Lee sold Wildstorm to DC. And now Jim Lee's the chief creative officer of DC. But yeah, Image United. Man, you should have sold us on Image United.
No.
And then pitched us what 4, 5, and 6 would have been.
Nope.
Who read Youngblood? Steve, did you read Youngblood?
I don't believe so.
I don't
No.
know who that is.
Did you ever get a Youngblood toy with issue 1 of Youngblood in it?
What is Youngblood?
Rob Liefeld's comic. So they all had like a creative launch
Oh,
comic.
okay. I know exactly.
So like
what you're
Jim
talking
Lee's
about
was
now.
was Wildcats, Todd McFarlane's was Spawn, and Rob Liefeld's was the Youngblood team, and Eric Larson's was Savage Dragon.
Is Savage Dragon anything? Like, is it worth reading at all? I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, of all of the 7 Image creators, Eric Larson, because none of them were writers originally, they were all artists. I would say Eric Larson had the shortest learning curve of starting to write. Jim Lee was pretty smart and went, I should hire a writer. Jim Lee was like, Alan Moore, what are you doing? Nothing. Cool. Want to create an entire comic book line?
So you didn't love Haunt.
I will not remember anything. Excuse me. I finished this last night. I'm already forgetting huge chunks of it. I will not remember it next week.
I'm realizing that today. Like, I'm like trying to remember names, and I'm like,
I feel bad shitting on it because I literally like every creator involved. This is awful.
Yeah,
this is so bad.
this just wasn't there.
It just
So,
didn't
like,
work. It just doesn't
This was a
work.
huge misfire.
It's just like, I don't get it, man.
I think there was good ideas. I think they could, somehow or another it could have
People
been
still
turned.
say that about communism. There were some good ideas there.
I mean, some people here might say that communism might work out better than capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'll have to read my Silver Age Hunt comic to find out more about that. It's going to be real Ayn Randian. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. It's kind of going to be like Ayn Rand versus Stalin and Hans in the middle. Oh my God, Todd McFarlane, call me.
Please.
This is gold
Please.
I'm giving you.
I'm gonna go tweet him again.
Tweet him right now.
We're
What's he
tweeting
doing?
him a link to this episode.
We're the only people talking about Haunt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on the
forget podcast
planet.
people,
We are giving it
recorded
the
or
most
otherwise.
exposure it's ever had outside of a
I
comic
could
book
barely
store.
find any information on Haunt. Period. Like the Wikipedia is.
Sounds like somebody's got to pick up that torch, Brian.
I found my new life calling.
I'm a Wikipedia editor. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I was on Wikipedia and I was looking up something about Law and Order, and I saw something that I saw to be factually inaccurate. I was like, I know for a fact that is not true in Law and Order. And I went, no, don't edit the Law and Order Wikipedia. Don't become that guy. Don't, because you know I'll get into a fight with someone who cares way more about Law and Order. And then I'm like, this is like when I tried to edit the Wikipedia about volcanology, and I tried to add I added an in media section and talked about the movie Volcano and Dante speaking. Granted, I was a little tongue-in-cheek. He edited my entire, I assume it was a man, because really, it's gotta be, right?
Right.
He didn't fix it. He deleted my in-media section completely out of spite. So anyway, write the Haunt Wiki, man.
So on
And
that
the
note,
fanfic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Golden Age Haunt.
I'm gonna
right
go,
here, buddy.
I'm gonna go start reading some Haunt fan fiction.
Oh, the Haunt of 1812. Oh, we can
Oh.
go further back.
I was
Oh,
thinking
Haunt
about
versus
like
Jack the
cyber-
Ripper.
Haunt versus Jack the Ripper.
I was gonna do like cyberpunk Haunt. I was thinking, cyberpunk 2077 but
Yeah.
with Haunt.
The Haunt Pimpernel of the 1700s. Prehistoric Haunt. It's Haunt riding a fucking mastodon into battle with a club glowing of ectoplasm.
So it's like Captain Caveman.
Oh my God, the Legion of Superheroes, but instead of the world inspired by Superman and Faster now, they're inspired by Haunt. So everybody's shitty.
Everything about this
Everybody
world
sucks
is
and their
shitty.
powers are ill-defined.
Everybody has powers that are ill-defined. Nobody can remember each other's names.
Oh, the Haunt Knight returns. Haunt's old and grizzled, but more so than he is currently.
More dark, more gritty.
Yeah, he's even grittier. Now when people come into his confession booth, he shoots them in the face.
With sand.
But he does pick up a plucky young sidekick.
Yeah, some kid on rollerblades who's like, hey, Haunt, I'm your
You
biggest
want to
fan.
play some Xbox?
My parents.
I still can't believe that was in the comic.
Hey, Haunt.
The one
hey,
panel
Haunt.
of him playing fucking Xbox.
That's right.
I guess I'll live with my mom forever. I wanted to play Xbox with you so badly.
I'm kind of glad I skipped over everything, but
Don't admit that, Corey. We all read all of it, definitely.
You read all.
I sure as
One of
fuck
us certainly didn't read 4 key issues right before we recorded.
I sure as fuck did.
Fuck it.
Corey,
you
this
read-
is not how lying works.
Corey, you're
So
doing
anyway.
the opposite of lying.
Oh.
All right, everybody, go read Haunt.
Don't read on.
Uh,
Go read Sex by Joe Casey. Go read Go read Invincible by Robert Kirkman. Do not read Haunt.
Well, actually, Haunt might make very good reading if you're trying to pass time, like in the restroom.
You can just stare at a
Maybe?
wall for the time it takes you to read Haunt. You'll probably be better off.
At that
That's fair.
point, I'd rather just read the ingredients list on my shampoo bottle.
So read Haunt, or,
No.
or don't.
Corey.
This was
I need more
This
followers.
whole
Come on,
podcast was
read
a
Haunt.
this whole podcast
was
was
an
a PSA.
indictment against Haunt. I don't like.
Maybe read it, maybe don't.
I don't like getting on a podcast and just telling everybody that something is just awful unequivocally, but don't read Haunt. Okay, since
Or
this was,
do. We're not your mom.
this was
Like,
this was negative. Let's go around the room. What is something somebody's liking right now?
what
Don't
are you
say Haunt.
So recently I read Haunt.
God damn it, this is over.
Recently,
Haunt-
I read this great
Haunt
series
2
about
is
a
coming out.
Spider-Man-like character.
But anyway, something I've been enjoying lately. The new Spider-Man game. I know we've all been playing it.
Oh, it's so great.
Gotten about halfway through, and so far it is probably the best Spider-Man game I've played.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
by
yeah.
leaps and bounds, it is the best one.
I have a few complaints, but it's more of just I really don't love single-player games to begin with. In the past few years, I mostly play multiplayer, but no, it's been amazing. The story's way better than I ever thought it would be.
No, it's great. It's so fun.
I've been watching Death Note.
The anime or the Netflix movie?
The
Do not
anime,
watch that movie.
The anime
No,
from
no.
2006, I think.
If you have to pick between Haunt and Death Note, read Haunt.
I would say
Yeah, I would agree with that.
no, I would say if you like the anime, read the manga.
The manga's fantastic.
Everybody
The manga
says
is
that.
leaps
I
and
read the
bounds.
manga. I
It's-
haven't. I finally watched the anime recently, but I read the manga. I read the manga a long time ago. I really liked it.
Yeah, I've heard that about Berserk too.
Just like here in America, where we turn almost every fucking book into a movie.
Basically, yeah.
If it was a manga first, it's probably better.
So I've heard.
In
Most of the time.
instances.
There are a few things, seeing it in motion kind of works out better.
How far are you into the anime, Corey?
I think I'm about halfway through.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'll let you know when I'm done.
It's interesting.
Goodbye.
So what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard really good things about it, and that's the only reason I really checked it out. It was never on my list. I just had a multitude of people say, "Oh, well, this is one of the ones you have to watch."
It definitely seems like it's in the last. Yeah, it definitely seems like it's up there now.
Yeah, it definitely falls into the category of like, okay, give me a list of animes to watch: Cowboy Bebop, Death Note.
What else is on that list? I'm just curious. Or is that a topic
Bleach, Naruto,
for the Get out of here! I know it's your house. But
One
get
Piece.
the fuck out.
Apparently,
fuck
One Piece
up.
is amazing. I cannot justify 700, 800 episodes, whatever the fuck it is in.
Yeah,
I cannot do
never.
that ever.
Steve.
But no, I've been playing Destiny 2 Forsaken, and
Oh,
it
yeah,
has
yeah.
been absolutely astounding. It is crazy how much of a 180 that game has managed
Yes.
to make.
So you're not playing Battle for Azeroth anymore?
Oh,
No.
Corey.
No, you see, they finally released Destiny 2 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
For real, they like
It's-
changed the game.
it's-
You're like, what if this were Destiny 2? And everyone was like,
What
yeah,
if-
that.
What if Battle for Azeroth would have changed WoW?
But World of Warcraft has just had its Cataclysm 2 expansion drop. I mean, Battle for Azeroth. I mean, come
I
on.
have not.
No,
not-
I would actually call this Warlords of Draenor Part
I
2.
have not.
Whoa,
cared.
sick bird, I assume.
Oh.
Ooh, got him.
Yeah, right now we're in Draenor.
Whoa, where's my
2.0.
soundboard?
I am falling
Get some
asleep
sizzle on that sick
already.
bird.
I am falling asleep already. Worlds of Draenor was
I've
boring.
I've been out since Wrath of the Lich King. That
You
after
left at the
that-
best time.
Yeah, I know.
I've been out since I watched
I'm
that
very
movie
aware.
they made.
That's why
I
I'm
mean,
out.
Legion was good. Legion was fantastic. I that was probably one of my favorite expansions for it. But Battle for Azeroth's not in a good place right now. But no, Destiny 2. I know David, you played on PS4, and I
I
know
do.
Corey has recently started it. I know Brian couldn't give two shits less.
You really should. It's actually pretty good.
Nope.
Yeah, I've tried on multiple occasions to get him into it.
I would say, Brian, if Destiny 2, if there's an edition with the expansions that includes Forsaken that drops to like $30, it's definitely worth it. But beyond that,
It'll never happen.
never
Yeah, I
happened.
tried.
It'll never happen.
It's just the
He just
gameplay?
didn't enjoy it.
Steve got me the full, complete Destiny 1
Mm-hmm.
package. I still, after we played through the whole fucking campaign, I like
We
the
put- me
PvP
and-
So how many hours did you put into that?
a lot.
Yeah, I think we probably put 30 or so hours into it.
It had
That's
to
respectable
together,
amount.
but I just don't care for it.
Yeah, he
I
just couldn't get
do
into it.
not-
It's
the
not his
only
thing.
the only looter shooter style that I really enjoy is Borderlands. I can't constantly grind games like that.
So,
It just gets old to me.
When I was playing Destiny 2, my first playthrough, I never played the first one because I don't own a PlayStation. But I was playing Destiny 2, the single player, and I actually couldn't help but feel like I was playing a shinier, more Halo-like Borderlands 2. In fact,
Yeah.
I made this comment out loud
That's-
many times. I was like,
that's-
"Oh, this is just like Halo. Oh, this is just like Borderlands.
It's-
It's Halo meets Borderlands."
It's Halo and Borderlands, but it doesn't have the charm of either of them.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But that's just how I feel about it. I know people fucking love that game, but I can't.
I mean, it's a super polarizing game because I won't lie, Bungie and Activision have made some stupid, questionable choices on how they've handled things.
Oh,
like
like
releasing the
Glimmer?
second game is a gutted piece of shit.
Right? Yeah, they.
Releasing Destiny 2
Yeah,
mostly
releasing
was their most questionable. It's really one questionable decision. Releasing Destiny 2.
Yeah, regarded by most people as a bad move.
Remove.
It was their fatal error when in retrospect.
I mean,
That's like if you ever get an Overwatch 2, I think people will fucking riot.
And
People
that's,
will
I mean,
fucking
that's kind of the
lose it.
prevailing thought with Destiny 2 right now is, oh, so you can make this game better just through expansions.
Yeah,
So
which is
can
how
we
the first one worked.
Yeah, well,
So
no, I
keep
mean, it was
doing
always
that.
planned to be multiple games, but at this point, most people are on the same page of saying, we don't want multiple games. We just want this to be a persistent universe that you expand on. Like, WoW.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
every
but
other fucking game like it.
You remember when you said you wanted to make an MMO?
Imagine WoW, but every time a new expansion drops and you buy it,
It's
you lose all your
$60
characters.
and nothing's there.
You lose all your gear. You lose all your gold.
You
Because
keep
that's kind of the precedent for setting
you keep
of-
the cosmetic of your character, but Destiny 2
and you can't go back and do any of the old content, right?
no.
Right.
And Destiny 2 creates a story thing that requires you to lose your stuff instead of you just losing it.
I mean,
I did port my character over, but that's just because
at the very least, there was a.
If I had
decent-
lost a stiff, I'd be like, whatever.
At least in Destiny 2, they went out of their way to try to create a decent narrative reason why you had to start over.
Yeah, but that's like that
But
God of War
honestly,
3
a game
shit
where
where it's
you-
like, you're not a god anymore.
A
And
game
what the
where you
fuck?
didn't have
What
to
happened to
read-
you? I fell in the river Styx. My shit got wet.
At least Destiny 2, you didn't have to go on their fucking website and read cards to get the story.
Yes.
That
and-
I will say, the story in 2 seemed more interesting.
Yes,
But-
and I mean the story in 2
Yeah.
was more
Interesting, yes.
well because there
One
was
had
a
none.
story.
So do you think there'll be a Destiny 3 in 2020?
There absolutely was.
There will be
And
a Destiny
what a disaster.
I
forever.
don't think that's a good idea.
Do you remember the Call of Duty series?
Do I remember
Never-
the
never-
call?
I've never heard of it.
No.
Tell me more of this Call of Duty.
Okay, so I
remember
actually
the
really
comics.
like those games for the first, I don't know, 4 of them. Every fucking year a new game comes out and you lose all your progress, you lose all your weapons, you
Yeah,
lose all
but
your
progress
arms.
is relative in those games.
Yeah,
Not for nothing, but that's not really.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah,
I mean,
but my 5 times prestiged, main with all these prestigious skins, I lose it all when I get to the next game, so I stop buying them.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's completely reasonable. Mostly because Call of Duty's been more or less shit for several
That's
years.
the second reason.
Black Ops 2 was probably the last good one.
Some might say Modern
I would just
Warfare
say-
1 was the last good one, and that person would be David. I didn't even hate the others.
Last good one to me was Black Ops 1, just the
Yeah.
first Black Ops.
Which I didn't hate either.
I liked the Black Ops games, but
I haven't hated any of them until Black Ops 3. Or Black Ops 3 I got for like $10 when I first got my PS4. I was like, I'll fucking do this. And I was like, I hate this. Literally, I was like, I hate this story. I'm
I
done.
used to have a
Well,
tradition.
good news, the fourth one doesn't have a story.
That's probably for
Does
the
it?
best given
Does
the
it
third
not?
one.
No,
I didn't.
there
I
is
haven't-
no
I haven't
campaign.
paid any attention. I used
They
to
replaced campaign with PUBG.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those stories have not been good, so I don't
haven't
get what
been
everybody's
good.
bitching about. I'm like, I'm sorry, what are you missing exactly?
I-
That'd be like if Fast and the Furious 9, they're like, good news, guys, it's an hour and there's no more talking. I'd be like, fucking great. And you don't even need to make the ticket cheaper. You mean to tell me I get everything I got out of the 8th one, but I get out in quicker amount of time? I don't have to listen to Vin Diesel talk? Fucking
What's
sign
this you were
me
saying
up.
about a ticket being
Sign
cheaper?
me up.
How about the ticket costs the same?
That's what I'm
and
saying. You don't
Halfway
even-
through the
No, I
movie, you have
said
to
you-
pay another $5.
No, I said you don't even have to make the ticket cheaper. If you're telling me you're saving me time, you don't need to save me money. I can get more money. I cannot get more time. And granted, I'm sure you're going to say, well, don't watch Fast and Furious. David, but Corey, that's not how it works. I got to watch them.
Don't watch Fast and
I-
Furious, David.
I
gonna-
gotta get my fix. I gotta get my Vin Diesel fix.
I haven't seen a Fast and the Furious since like Tokyo Drift.
You want to start?
That's the third
No,
one. Oh man, the
I
fifth one.
really
You gotta
don't.
watch the fifth one.
I got them all right there. We can do this.
Fifth one is pretty good.
All right, so you're recommending Destiny 2 Forsaken.
I'm recommending Destiny 2 Forsaken if you can stomach having to, pay for all the other content. Well, I mean,
right now,
it's a
no.
$60
Right now,
bundle,
it's just $60 to buy Destiny. If you don't own Destiny at all, it's $60 to buy
Yeah, no,
Destiny.
you're
$60
right.
for the game, $40 for Forsaken.
No,
You're
no,
paying
no,
$100
no.
out of the gate to play the game.
It is $60.
Yeah, they
to
put
play
out
Destiny
they
2
put
with
out a
Forsaken.
complete edition.
What?
Right
It's
now,
everything up to this point.
Right now, no. So right now,
I don't know how it works.
I don't know how it works.
I
either.
only play on PC.
You just throw your wallet at them and you say, just fuck it, take my
Literally
money.
throw your
What's
wallet at the
funny
top.
I
of
just
the
is-
put, you know me. I
That's
just put that
exactly
credit
what
card
you
in,
do.
baby, and I'm like,
No.
spend. It is my destiny to play this game while I'm in debt.
No, you brought up throwing your wallet at the TV during Destiny 1 when they first added a pay shop where you could pay for emotes. And
I
stuff.
remember that.
He literally said, these emotes are so great, you're just going to throw money at your screen.
Oh, I'm gonna throw
And
something at my
everybody-
screen.
And everybody said the same thing. Fucking no.
But not somebody, a lot of fucking people are going to buy them. Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's some, I can't remember what car game
But
it
don't
is.
you, with Overwatch, don't you buy the loot boxes when the events come out?
I
have
No.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
definitely-
when I was looking at it, I knew Brian did.
We've
I used
established
to.
this,
Like
Corey,
a
you're-
good lawyer, I don't ask a question I don't know the answer to. Corey.
to justify it in my own mind, it's because I invested hundreds of hours a month in it. So I was like, $20 for hundreds of hours of entertainment. That's fine.
Yes, those
But
skins
it's
provide
still-
you endless
but
entertainment.
it's still just skins, so I know I'm not
I
better.
spent $40 on gray Converse.
So the skins,
I already own black Converse.
the skins that only affect
What, are you
how
gonna make fun of
handle
me?
your
Are you gonna
weapon.
make fun of me for that? Then shut up about my skins on Overwatch, bitch. Same theory. It's not a better Converse. It's completely cosmetic, as one might say. Like all clothing is, which you buy. Has your Central City Flash. Is that like a fifth Flash t-shirt I've seen you in?
Yeah,
It's
something
all
like that.
cosmetic. This world or the next.
First of all, don't
I can't take any of it with me. I
Stop
want
making-
Widowmaker to look different.
Stop
So
making
leave
sense.
me alone.
I will DLC shame you to the grave.
It's not DLC. He's literally just buying loot. He's gambling. He's gambling.
I didn't say I don't do the,
The
same
only
damn
difference
thing.
is-
Oh, how many loot boxes have you bought in Overwatch?
And Overwatch, none. Actually, I've spent more in Warframe than
How
I
many
have in
paychecks?
Destiny.
Warframe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Corey. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, the mighty have fallen.
I was about to say, I know you spent some shit, some platinum.
Yeah, so when you go to your Steam account, you can see how much you spent on every game.
Oh, please tell me how much you've spent on
I will not
Warframe.
disclose the number, but I will say my jaw
If
drops.
we guess a range, will you say if we're right or wrong?
No, I will not tell you.
If we guess a
The
limit,
number is in shame,
So,
David.
All right.
if
how
we
many-
guess, so if I say over $100, you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
I'm not going to tell you anything.
Corey, it was more than $100, wasn't it? Yeah!
Oh, hoist it on your open tide.
My bridge is not strong. I think of all the money I've spent on that game, about 80% of it, 90% of it went towards like a clan or clan functions, accelerating things, for building up your dojo.
I mean, the
Cosmetics.
dojo is pretty nice.
That wasn't even, I'm not even talking about my dojo, I'm talking about my old clan.
Oh, well, that's not great.
The dojo that I've built is much smaller and cheaper looking.
There is
for
no
a reason.
pride in this dojo.
Because at some point I said, I'm sick of
dishonored
spending
this house.
money. I'm
There
going to
is
do
no
this the hard
mercy
way.
in this dojo.
Steve and Brian, did you guys buy the DLC for Spider-Man?
Not yet.
There's already DLC. This game just came out.
No, it's just
Have you
scheduled.
played games in the past 10 years?
I can still get mad about it, Brian.
Usually, if I hype myself up, I hate something.
Yeah.
I
But you're real good at hyping other people up that
Yeah.
end up hating things.
yeah.
Bioshock 2.
Warhammer Online,
Hey,
Aeon.
hey, Guild Wars 2 is yours.
I gotta tell you, there's nothing worse though. That's bad. There's nothing worse though than hyping something up and then all your friends love it and you hate it.
Yeah.
So
That's
you were
how-
the one. You were the one who was like, "Yeah, guys, yeah," and then you were like, "What is this?" And everyone's like, "Isn't it the best, David?" And I'm like, "I want to die." David, you, the arbiter of this.
And that's what happened to me
You're
with
why
Overwatch.
we're all here. And I'm like, "Oh, shoot me in the face."
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
I got everybody on it, and before I knew it, I hated the game. But
Yeah.
everybody I knew was playing it, and I was like, "Well, if I want to play with my friends, I'm gonna play this game," which I hate.
Which game?
Overwatch.
I love that game, and I will always love that game.
I love it too.
But
It's really fun.
I burned myself out.
I am a salty, tilted bitch, so I just don't do competitive.
I can't take the competitive scene seriously anymore. It's worse than League of Legends.
Nothing is worse than League of Legends.
Trust
Nothing is more toxic than League.
I got to silver in League of Legends. Trust me. Overwatch's platinum tier is more toxic. It is 5 times worse, if not 10 times worse. It is insane.
It's pretty bad. You just got to meet the right people. The looking for group function helped a lot.
Looking for group is a feature that they've actually had in another staple game of theirs for years, World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the looking for group in World of Warcraft is if you get matched to somebody in your team that says, oh, I'm going to be the dedicated healer, I'm going to heal the party as we do this, this instance is going to take 30 minutes, everybody has to do their job, they have to do it well. If you don't like how well they're doing, or if they're giving you attitude, you kick them. You kick them. You have a vote kick.
You can do
It's
that.
really hard to do that in an Overwatch game because in a dungeon, there's times where you can just stop and everybody can just chill for a minute.
Yep.
And then you can vote kick.
That is
in
true.
Overwatch, you're in the middle of the match. You're like, this Lucio sucks. Kick him. Oh, fuck. What do we do now?
There goes most of our healing because Zenyatta is getting killed at the spawn.
Now that he's gone, we're fucked.
I played on the PlayStation. I have a great time. Have you ever thought that maybe you would enjoy it in a more casual setting?
But I'm not a casual.
No, I'm not
Casual.
talking to you. You like it. No, Brian, no, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to Corey. Brian, you enjoy what you do. You don't need
You
to change
enjoy
it.
Overwatch,
I don't
but
need
you
to
think you'd
change
enjoy
something.
it more on mobile?
Yeah, but it's also like especially on PlayStation, like it's a lot more like kids. But it is a colorful video game, and perhaps it is for children. Sometimes I feel like we lose sight of that these things are for children, and that
Perhaps my film with laser swords and spaceships was made for 12-year-old
perhaps
boys.
Space Wizards, might not be for adults. But it's like a Disneyland. When I've literally been to Disneyland with some friends who are big Disney people, and these are adults, and they are upset at the children, quote unquote, in their way. And I'm like, this is not for you. This is for those children you are upset with. That man,
You are encroaching upon their territory.
that man dressed as Thor they are lined up to see is for their benefit. I understand you would like the picture and to sign your hat, because all the cast members sign your hat, you weird adult man. But
like-
they're literally upset at the child taking a picture of Thor. I'm like, no, this is for them. We're here to live vicariously through them. And perhaps that maybe if you're ever angry at something, maybe you should step back and go, oh, maybe I'll just have fun.
You're making an assumption with that, though. The assumption is that I don't like the game.
Where you're like, I
because
can't take it seriously. I'm like, well, maybe you should not be taking it
Maybe
seriously.
they shouldn't have a
I'm
literal
making an assumption based on
league.
the words you say.
Maybe I shouldn't take football seriously because it's something that kids play in high school. Oh wait, there's this thing called the NFL, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
I don't think you should be taking that seriously either.
Yeah,
as,
I don't think
as
you
that is a
should
competitive
take
game
it
I
to
don't.
heart.
built on the pastime of entertaining people.
I don't, but Overwatch
It doesn't
has-
actually decide anything real in the world.
it
Who
has
wants him to die?
Yeah, they don't kill the losers.
That would make it much more interesting, and honestly, I could see people getting
It's
salty.
not the challenge between Spock and Kirk after Pon farr, man. Like, it's not to the death.
Oh, this wasn't a good place to go.
Does that music play in your head every time you play? Be honest.
Which music?
Oh, the music from Star Trek where they Pon farr.
No.
Doesn't for me either. Don't ask me any questions about it. So anyway, I recommend. just gonna end this.
We're just
I
gonna
recommend
cut
not
this off.
playing
So
Overwatch
anyway,
and not
Steve-
reading Haunt.
Steve recommended something that led to this. There
I
you
said
go.
Destiny 2 Forsaken, and then somehow
That was like an hour ago.
we ended here.
And last podcast, I recommended Castle Rock. I changed my mind. Don't do it.
We'll see if this comes out before that podcast or after.
We're going chronologically.
We might not be.
You can't
as I've
see the air
stated to
quotes.
everyone a couple times now.
We'll see what happens.
So I've been reading a lot of Spider-Man. In prep for the game, I started a Spider-Man read through from like the beginning, and I'm caught up to like about the year 2000. I wanted to recommend kind of like what's been the highlight out of this massive read, and it would be the storyline called Kraven's Last Hunt
Very good story.
by J.M. DeMatteis or DeMatteis, actually I don't know how you pronounce it, and then Mike Zeck. It ran through the 3 Spider-Man books at the time, Web of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man. And it is essentially about Kraven preparing to die, and the last thing he will do is kill Spider-Man and become him. And it's collected, you can get it just like as its own trade paperback, or if you have Marvel Unlimited, you can look at the issues and read it. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic and like hands down the best Spider-Man story. And how this has not become like the basis for the 7 or however many Spider movies have been made yet. Like, I don't understand how they've skipped this. It seems like it would be like his dark fiend. Like, the thing you should be doing is this story.
I don't think it would
Yeah.
sell toys as well, though.
I think it would make a fantastic basis for a sequel to Insomniac's Spider-Man
It
game.
would.
though.
It would. I would love to see Tom Holland in this. Like, because I think if you recontextualize it as a kid, I mean, it would be even scarier.
Yeah.
Even more creepy. Because it's got a real horror, like gothic horror vibe. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Unless Corey, you'd like to tell me why that is wrong as well.
And
I
also
love
read.
you, Corey.
And also read Haunt.
Corey, I love you. Don't look at me that way. Please don't
Brian,
look at me.
Also read Haunt.
shut the
Don't read Haunt.
I'm gonna say it enough.
You go to hell.
Brainwash.
Corey, attack him with your skill and intellect.
He's just
Read
sitting-
Haunt if you want to.
Damn
or
it,
don't.
Corey.
You've been listening to Cattywampus. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at CattyWampusPod. Email us at cattywampuspodcast@gmail.com. Music by Tilly.